Hello, everyone. Everyone just have their seats. Hello, my name is Scott Egelberg. I am the chairman of the South Orange Senior Citizen Advisory Committee. I'd like to thank everybody for coming to our first Senior Citizen Town Hall Forum. This committee, we're here mainly to explore opportunities to help improve the lives of senior citizens in our town. And before we begin, I'd like to introduce some of the members of our committee. First, we have Larry Aronson, Carol Colton-Max, Frank Franzonia, Nan Sammons, Natalie Hamilton, Jackie Herships, Peggy Sinberg, Alyssa Aronson, Sandy Lublin, Janine Bauer, Eleanor Costant, Alba Abadi, and Tonya Moore. And I apologize in advance for that. So we're here today to listen to you and to hear your ideas of how we can help improve South Orange, and also to let us know of any concerns you may have about South Orange. We have surveys at the tables for everyone to fill out if you don't feel like speaking, though we do encourage you to come up and ask questions and to speak to speak to us and speak to everyone pretty much. But if we do have surveys at the tables for you to fill out as well. And we're going to have some representatives from our town speaking today. And first up is our village president, Alex Torpy.
Thank you, Scott. And thank you to everybody who is participating in the committee and helped put the event together today. Before I go forward, I'm going to be very brief because we've got much more interesting people to get to than me. But I do want to just ask a quick question. For everybody in the room right now, who has lived here more than 10 years? 20 years? 30 years? Amazing. I'm going to stop there. But I do want to, one of the amazing things, so, I've grown up in Maplewood and South Orange, and I don't think I've lived here, I haven't lived here for 30 years. I haven't lived for 30 years, actually. But I do think that one of the amazing things that I think about, being able to be in this position now as village president and getting to work with so many great people about figuring out where we're going as a town, I can't help but think about where we've been as a town, and where we've been and how that's influenced the kind of person that I am, the kind of person that all the kids that I grew up with around Maplewood and South Orange turned out to be. And there's just something amazing. We spend a lot of time in South Orange talking about a lot of the great work that we do, talking about how close we are to New York City, talking about Seton Hall University, talking about how walkable the downtown is. But really the most important asset that we have in our community is all of you here and all the people who live in town. And just last week, I was down in Philadelphia, and I was talking with a bunch of entrepreneurs about how to figure out ways to get people more involved in their community. And I try and do the best I can to represent what kind of community South Orange is when talking elsewhere. But I can tell that even the best examples that I can give, the most descriptive words that I can use, it doesn't capture what this community is. And I kind of want to take everybody and let's say, all right, everybody on the bus, we're going up to South Orange, we're going to hang out for a day, and you're going to see what this community really is about. And it's just amazing to be able to be a part of that as someone just growing up here, and it's amazing to be able to be a part of that and work with all of you to try and figure out what we can do more and what we can do better as a community, not just for everybody that's in this room, but for anybody who wants to live in South Orange, wants to work in South Orange, wants to study here. And I think that's one of the greatest things about this town is how inclusive we are and how welcoming we are. So thank you again for everybody for all the time that you've put in and whatever that we can do to make this a better place and to try and figure out what we can do to improve going forward. We're going to be there and we're going to do it. So thank you again. So at this time, I would like to welcome up Sheena Collum, one of the trustees on the board who has done an amazing job working with Scott, the chair of the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee, and the rest of the committee, and making this event happen and making sure to reach out and bring more folks into the process in town. Sheena?
Hello, everyone. One of the things I wanted to start off doing, because I think Scott went a little fast, for the members of our Senior Citizens Advisory Committee, could you please take a moment just to stand up so people can see where you are throughout the room? I have to say, as the trustee liaison to the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee, these folks have put a tremendous amount of work into helping service the needs of seniors throughout the community. And this is one of many steps that are going to be taken for the village to do a much better job. This committee, when we first started, only had a couple members, and now we're one of the largest committees throughout the village. And for these folks, I am very, very grateful. Next, I would like to introduce members of the Board of Trustees here. First, Trustee Howard Levison. Howard, can you please stand up? Howard chairs our village's Finance and Information Technology Committee. We also have Trustee Deborah Davis Ford. Deborah chairs our village's Legal and Personnel Committee. Trustee Walter Clark. Trustee Clark chairs our Public Works Committee. We also have Trustee Stephen Schnall in the back. And joining us very shortly will be Trustee Mark Rosner. So I think I need to also say that I serve with a rock star group of individuals on the Board of Trustees who, if it wasn't for their leadership and their kind of goal setting for really seeing senior citizen issues be brought to light, we wouldn't be here today. We would not be empowering a Senior Citizens Advisory Committee to guide us in what we as a governing body need to do in order to meet those needs. I also want to do a big shout out to SOPAC and Laura Bessie for hosting us here today, and the food that was provided is from Nkosi Cafe. So if you haven't been there before, please visit Irvington Avenue. Very generous folks, did a wonderful job with all the refreshments. And again, you have coffee and tea and also crumb cake to the my right, your left. So I just wanted to give a little overview about the Board of Trustees and why we're having this forum here today. One of the things that we encourage and what we know best is that we don't have all the answers. And the participation, as President Torby discussed, of those impacted by the things that we do, the directions that we set, how we appropriate budget and resources in this community, it begins with the folks who live here. It begins with folks who volunteer for us. And today is one of many forums that we hope to have to listen, get the feedback, and ultimately what we're going to do is, behind me there's a projector, we're going to list all the items that folks bring to us today, and we hope as a governing body, with the advice from our advisory committee, that we can map out both short and long-term goals for the future of how we can address the needs of our growing senior citizens community, not only to retain the folks that are here today, but also to attract people to our wonderful and diverse community. Next, I'd like to turn this over. You've probably seen a lot of our village staff here. It's a testament to the administration, our department heads, is that they know that this is a very critical crossroads that we're at regarding our senior citizens. So we are very pleased to have so many of our village employees join us here today to be able to listen and hear the feedback from all of you and work with the Board of Trustees and how we move forward. So I'd like to introduce to you our village administrator, Barry Lewis.
Thank you all. A number of you I've had the pleasure of meeting, and for those I haven't, hopefully after this is over during the social hour, I'd love to meet each and every one of you. First, before I move on to mine, I want to do just a couple quick follow-ups. One, Trustee Schnall chairs the Recreation Cultural Affairs Committee. Didn't want anyone to think he wasn't chairing something. Trustee Rosner, who is not here, chairs Planning and Zoning. And Sheena, in addition to her work on this and many other committees, also finds the time to chair our Public Safety Committee. So all of our trustees, our village president, they're all volunteers and they do a tremendous amount of work. Hopefully you see that, and this forum is just a small example of that. What I'd like to do is just briefly take an opportunity to recognize the various department heads from our staff that are here today, some that were not able to be here, give you a quick summary of some of the services and things that they provide. And then, as you're all aware, there are tables of a number of our partners in the back, but also out front, there's tables with a lot of information that our departments have made available about the different services and things that they can offer for you. So first, again, I'm Barry Lewis, Village Administrator. Also here today, back on the camera, is our Deputy Village Administrator, Adam Lerner. Adam and I would be your kind of go-tos for anything that, we would always encourage you to go to the specific department if you know what you need. But certainly if you have questions, you're not sure, by all means, feel free to call us. Our assistant, Kathy Cameron, is very helpful as well, and we will make sure to get back to you and point you in the right direction. Also, as part of that umbrella in the Village Hall office is our Village Clerk, Sue Caljean. Right here, Sue is one of the newest additions to our staff. It's been a really pleasure to bring her on board. She came in a little earlier this year. The clerk's office, she has a deputy clerk and another assistant. They handle they also are the registrar, Office of Vital Statistics, birth records, death records, marriage certificates, and everything else, and anything else. So Sue's very helpful, and her staff are very helpful. Also, our Recreation and Cultural Affairs Department, we have with us today is Kate Schmidt, the director over here. Also joining us is Diane Travers, who is office manager, but also coordinates the senior services in the rec department. Diane's over here, thank you. Lastly, and I'm not sure where she's sitting, and one of your best resources, and I'm sure many of you already know her, but if you don't, you should get to know her, is Marion Rothman, has been the coordinator of our senior services office for, I believe, almost 30 years. And Marion is a great resource. She's housed in the library. Marion is also, all things senior, so again, a great resource to start with her, and she can help point you in the right direction, and whether it be within the village, within the county, or anywhere. She's got, again, 30 years of experience, so she can steer you in the right direction. From our Code and Construction Department, the director, Anthony Grincy, is right there in the back. Tony's office handles not only building permits, building construction, but also code enforcement. He's a great resource for any questions you have, whether it relates to, you want to do something with your house building-wise, or if there are concerns about neighboring properties, code enforcement, etc. Our health department, unfortunately, because of a family commitment, our health officer, John Festa, is not able to be here. He does have a lot of materials out front. John's another great resource. His department offers flu clinics, the health fair, blood pressure clinics, and a number of great things that I think certainly encourage you all to avail yourself of. And then from our public safety departments, Police Chief Jim Shillell's in the back. Hopefully you never need him or his services, but they do a fantastic job keeping us all safe and keeping South Orange the community that it is. On behalf of the fire department, Deputy Chief Dan Sullivan's also in the back there in a white shirt. Also, hopefully you'll never need them, but it's nice to know that they're there if you do, and they also do a great job. And finally, the South Orange Rescue Squad Captain Dan Cohen is in the back. Again, hopefully you'll never need them, but they do fantastic work, and all volunteer rescue squad. We certainly appreciate everything they do and encourage everyone to get to know all those public safety, and I'm sure you all appreciate what they provide to our community. Finally, Mark Hartwijk in the back is the Executive Director of the Parking Authority, but the more relevant to this forum and something that's coming soon is they also provide not only the jitneys for our commuters, but they also provide a senior jitney service that, quite frankly, I'm here 2.5 years, and it took me 2 years to know we even did it. So to those of you who are not aware, and I will tell you this, I know the senior committee has been very involved, working very closely with Mark to enhance that service, find out what type of transportation needs the seniors have, how we can improve that. And so those are all the people. I think hopefully their presence here is an indication of the commitment that the village has, that the administration has, that the governing body has, to providing you all services, to enhancing our outreach to you, finding out how we can better serve you. Part of the latter part of the program is going to be, I think, a question and answer / suggestion opportunity for you to ask questions about specific things, really anything going on in town, senior services or otherwise, but also to provide suggestions of how we can do better, what we can do to improve our services to you. So with that having been said, I thank you again for joining us, and I'm going to turn it over to Sheena, who will, I think, moderate that latter portion that I just talked about.
Okay, so this is where the real fun begins. As I had mentioned, we're going to be taking notes on the screen behind me, so we make sure that we capture everybody's questions or comments. This portion of the forum and the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee felt very strongly that this isn't just a Q&A. This is about you being able to tell your experiences, raise any issue that impacts you in this village. So please, any topic that you can think about, this is the opportunity to do so. We'd like everyone to try and limit comments to about 3 minutes or so, just to make sure we get through everyone who's here who would like to speak, and then we can again go around for a second round if time is available. I have a microphone in the front. Mr. Lewis also has one in the back. And so what we'd like to do is we'll make sure that we bring a microphone to whoever's speaking, and assuming you have a question and the appropriate department head or trustee is here, we'll be able to hand off to them for any specific answers. If there's just general comments, commentary, suggestions, etc., we'll make sure that they're noted on the screen behind me. So without further ado, why don't we get started? You're in the one place that's a little bit tough to reach, Nan. She'd like to go. She'd like to come to the podium.
I'm Nan Salmons, and I am part of the trio of SOS. My two fabulous partners are Peggy Sindberg and Tonya Moore. The purpose of this, my wanting to speak, is specific. How do you feel about pedestrian traffic in South Orange? Oh, unaccustomed. How do you feel about pedestrian traffic in South Orange? SOS, South Orange Seniors, is a new organization formed to advocate for South Orange seniors. And we are trying to get the answers to the questions that Sheena just alluded to. So with that in mind, South Orange Seniors recently established a committee for pedestrian safety. We do want to thank all of our committee members who so diligently have worked, and we know that they will continue in their capacities. In less than 2 weeks, would you believe that we have secured over 100 signatures by petition? The signers represent people just like you and me who are concerned about their own safety as well as the safety of all people who cross streets in South Orange. A few of the many discovered concerns are that we need safer crossings at all crosswalks. That includes the length of time permitted at crosswalks with timed lights. It also includes unhampered views at all street crossings. We do need to have careful and considerate drivers who obey speed limits, traffic lights, and traffic signals. And very special attention must be given to uneven sidewalks that create enormous hazard. This has been a universal cry. And that, of course, includes immediate snow removal when that is necessary. And in order to substantiate these problems, our committee members have surveyed highly trafficked areas, collecting substantiating data along with photos of sidewalks area that are desperately in need of specific attention. We are very grateful for having the safety hazards attended to at Spiata Park. But now let's push forward in all areas that need necessary attention. Rest assured that the South Orange Seniors Pedestrian Safety Committee will make certain that these petitions are carefully addressed. And most important, we will make certain that required results accrue. The town of South Orange cannot afford one more serious pedestrian injury. And there is absolutely no way that we can afford another pedestrian fatality. Thank you.
Chief, could you come up? I'd like to welcome Police Chief Jim Shalell, who has been doing a really good job with some of the pedestrian efforts that the village has had to date.
Hi, how are you? My name is Jim Shalell. I'm the police chief here. I've been here for 30 years. My name is Jim Shalell. I'm the police chief. I've been in the police department for 30 years. And any concerns that you have, much like the woman that just spoke here, we share and we take that seriously. I grew up in South Orange, and any crime or any type of fatality, unsafe driving, I take that seriously myself. To that end, we received a grant from the Division of Highway Traffic Safety this year for $15,000 to enforce pedestrian safety. We're one of the few communities, probably 5 years ago, Montclair and us received that grant. To that end, we did details, and this year we gave out, our traffic bureau gave out over 400 summonses for unsafe drivers and pedestrians. I can speak for our Board of Trustees as well. They've backed us and given me the ability to continue to do these details despite not being funded. We've spent all that money, the $15,000. They've given me the okay just to go ahead, the village administrator and the Board of Trustees, and we've done that. So I commend them for that. Thanks for the clap. No. One clap. No, but anything like that, an accident or unsafe driving is it's a concern not just here in South Orange, but it's throughout the entire state, and I'm sure throughout the entire country. It's more or less something that has to be ingrained in somebody's thought, and I've seen a change in that. I think just since we've done the enforcement, I've seen a couple rear-end accidents. I think where people have said, "Look, I stopped," and somebody drove into the back of the car, and that's going to. We've seen a little bit more of that. But I know that we're committed to doing that, and we'll make sure that we continue to do that until we change behavior of some of the drivers. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and I'll get in touch with this organization as well. We'll continue to do that as well.
More comments, questions? This one should be a little easier.
Hi, my name is Mimi Shore, and I came today to tell you about the parking situation, or ask you about the parking situation. I live in an apartment building without a parking lot, which means I park in the municipal lots day and night. I have my little decals, and since construction on 3rd and Valley, there have been how many spaces not available anymore, I'm not sure the number. But for 3 weeks, I couldn't find a place to park overnight in South Orange. And in fact, one night I parked behind City Hall at 9:30 and did not feel safe walking home. There must be something we can do about residents' ability to park overnight on residential streets, and also during the day for more than 2 hours in some places. So I've already lobbied the parking authority and Alex, and I'm wondering if I am the only person having this problem. I'm kind of sure I'm not. And that's it.
Do we have Mark available? Mark, would you be able to address some of this in the back?
As Mimi stated, she came before the Parking Authority Board, excuse me, earlier this week and brought her concerns to my board and myself. We've already spoken to some of the elected officials regarding some of the ordinances that prohibit the authority from issuing Mimi a on-street permit in front of her residence. Basically, for the sake of everybody here and the community at large, the authority is an enforcement agency, so we are not able to change an ordinance, but we can certainly advocate for a change on behalf of the citizens. That being said, I'm working to see what other alternative arrangements we can come up with for Mimi specifically with her parking needs and issue. The 2-hour restricted parking on the streets in her area, again, that would have to go to most likely the Public Safety Committee level first for discussion, and then ultimately to the Board of Trustees for review if they're going to make a change. But anybody that has a similar problem or an issue like that, as Mimi did, please reach out either directly to myself or come to one of our meetings. They're the third Tuesday of every month, held at 76 South Orange Ave.
Great.
I just wanted to add one other thing to address your question specifically about, and we do recognize when Third and Valley went under construction, obviously that was a great loss of parking spaces, approximately 180 public parking spaces. Mark did a great job trying to supplement that. We've used the parking lot over at Waterlands and some other areas. We do have in the hopefully relatively near future some additional interim spots coming online over on Church Street and South Orange Ave. And then ideally, within about a year, the Third and Valley, that deck will open, and that is a net gain of about 70 spaces. So we certainly appreciate your patience. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and there will be more when it's all done.
I have a question about dealing with that. How long is the 2-hour? For how long has the 2-hour been in effect in some areas, I guess?
Well, most of it's preceded mine being here, so that's over a dozen years. The on-street restrictions vary from neighborhood to neighborhood. Some are 10 hours.
Because some towns have 4 hours.
Correct. We actually have a 4-hour street, but the majority of the residential streets that have restrictions are 2 hours.
I was wondering the history of that. Why was that decided 2 instead of 4?
That's a good question. I'd have to research what governed the 2-hour rule versus a 4-hour rule. I do know that the closer you used to get to the university, at one point they encouraged on-street parking for commuter students, so they allowed 4 hours. And then when neighborhoods changed, there was a change in some of those ordinances to make it shorter, to move the commuter student parking back onto the campus and out of the residential areas. I have no objection to it being 4 hours if you're advocating that in a particular area. Typically, residents do not want commuters who take the train, who come from out of town, who are within a walking distance, within a half-mile radius of the station. They don't want them parking on their residential streets. We just had a street where the village passed an ordinance for Rinder Road that restricted the parking on that street to 2 hours. It had no restrictions prior. They had a history of at least a half a dozen commuters parking. So in a situation like that, that would be the rationale for the restriction.
Okay, we have another question up front. I'm sorry. The village president has something to add in the back.
Sorry, I do want to get to the next question quickly. There's just one quick thing I wanted to add about parking, which is that when we're looking at, and a lot of this is done through our planning and zoning committee and in our board of trustee meetings, when we're looking at kind of planning out the redevelopment future of the town, one of the highest priorities that we take into account, and we can see with the Third and Valley, even though, as Mr. Lewis said, it does provide kind of a brief and hopefully not too elongated interruption of parking, that the goal of any redevelopment that we're doing is to be able to add new parking spaces to the town. we've definitely heard over many, many years that that's a major problem. And I think one of the things that's important to keep in mind is not only that we do want to try and add more parking spaces in general, but that we want to add them to kind of the outside of the downtown as much as possible to try and alleviate some of the people. Basically, you're driving down Sloan Street, driving around here, looking for a parking space, which we all know contributes to an environment for pedestrians that's not as friendly as it could be. So part of what some of our goals are is removing some of that vehicle traffic from right in the center of the downtown, helping people be able to quickly find a parking space around the outside, and then basically opening it up so that people can walk downtown a little bit easier. So I know that doesn't address all of the immediate concerns, but I do just want to make sure that all the trustees and myself and the administration are thinking 5 years and 10 years out too, and how we alleviate some of these problems a little bit better in the future.
Okay, we have Sandy up front.
I just have a comment. I am new in New Jersey, South Orange, and how people have been warm, welcoming, reaching out. I feel like I really belong, and I find that if you have a problem, there's always someone to go to. I'm from New York. It's a little more complicated, but very warm people in South Orange. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Why don't we get one in the back?
Thank you. I wanted to make this comment while we're on the subject of parking. One of the things that I would like to see happen is increasing the handicap parking in town. Alex was just talking about possibly removing some of, trying to alleviate some of the extra traffic, people running around searching for spots, and open up that area more. I would hope that we're not going to reduce the parking on the street, on the avenue and the adjacent streets. What I'd like to see are more handicap spots. Right now, there are handicap spots usually at the end of a stretch of a parking area. So the person who is handicapped has to walk a fair distance to get to a store at the opposite end of that stretch. So my suggestion is that if you have a short stretch of parking, is to put one handicap spot at the first spot and the last spot of that stretch. If it's a longer stretch, put one at either end and one in the middle, so that the handicapped person does not have to walk very far to the store they're trying to enter. My other concern is about handicap access to our merchants, but I'm not sure if this is the parking authority's issue or if it's another department that should be addressing that.
You can speak to it.
Okay. Handicap access to our merchants is, I think, a growing concern. A lot of the stores are grandfathered where they don't have to have any special opening amenities. But I believe some of the issues are like if the entrance to those stores is sloped, or if you have to step up. The doors, if there's any possible way we could get the doors to open automatically, the sensors, because it's very difficult when a person is walking with a walker or a cane or even one of those portable, I forget what you call them, the scooter things. It's difficult for our handicaps and seniors to get in and out of the stores. And I would like to see all the merchants try to make some allowance for that. And if there's any room in the town budget to give them some sort of a grant as an incentive to do that, that would be much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't need a microphone. I think we're all saying it's It's time for a comfort break.
Yeah, my comment is we're all seniors, it's time for a comfort break.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and we'll keep the program going. Do we have more questions? Yes, ma'am.
First of all, I'd like to thank the head of the police because I live next door in an apartment house and it's very reassuring that they're there. But I wanted to make a suggestion. Is there anybody from Seton Hall represented here now? Okay, I live 2 blocks from Seton Hall and took advantage of going there. And senior citizens do cost money. Most of the teachers and the professors felt that senior citizens should not pay anything because they don't take tests, they don't get marks. All they can do is be in the class, maybe be verbal a little bit, but that's it. So I think for senior citizens, it would be a good idea if they could go for nothing. And there's one other thing I'd like to ask you. Most communities have some kind of facility, apartment house, where people who have to stop working, because they've hit that age, do not have money, and even the apartment houses here are expensive. So most communities do have a facility where these people could live after they work. And of course, most of them go on Medicaid and they have, advantages financially, but it's not enough to pay regular rents. So I'm asking if South Orange has that kind of facility.
Can you take that, Mr. Lewis?
We certainly understand, and I think the board, and one of the things we're well aware of is the opportunity for lifelong residents to downsize, to move out of a large single-family home that they've outgrown, their children have all moved out, and coupled with also a situation where you may have seniors or other people on fixed income. We are making a concerted effort, and certainly in any new developments, we look at our affordable housing obligations and take those very seriously, working with developers to ensure that affordable units are included in new developments. The Jonathan Rose property, for example, will have 21 affordable housing, which is regulated by the state, and there are income thresholds and maximum rent levels that should make those available. Any of the other new developments will be looking to ensure that they have affordable housing on site, and in some situations they also then contribute money into a fund that we can use to help supplement. Certainly Harold Colton Matz and his organization provides some wonderful housing for seniors, and so in general we don't have as much as we'd like right now, but we are committed to providing it.
Can we allow new people first and then we'll come back? Great. Do you want to have someone in the back?
I have 2 comments about, one is about Seton Hall and the cost. It's $75 to take an ordinate course there. And when I've taken the classes, I've always been graded. The bad thing is that the classes you're put at the bottom of the list. So the classes are usually at dinner time. The second thing is that Seton Hall, South Orange Seniors has met with Seton Hall, and we have a commitment from the Dove Service, which is a community service organization out of Seton Hall, that students will shovel out any senior's car that asks, and if you contact either Tonya, Nan, or I, we'll put you on the list. So your car can be shoveled out. Oh, it's free.
Thank you.
Okay, one in the front now.
And my name is Tonya Moore, and at this point in my life, I am not disabled. And the trustees don't seem to be disabled. You all seem pretty spry at this point in your lives. I invite you to take a walker, take a cane, and walk through this town and see what the problems are. because lately I've gotten to know a lot of people who have problems I have no notion about. They can't get into stores that I wasn't thinking about. And as leaders, I think that you need this valuable information.
One in the back.
Hello, my name is Jackie Herships. When we look at what is being suggested for seniors going forward, home sharing has a great big halo around it, and it's a wonderful, wonderful idea. I'm wondering what is being done to explore how to change policy on a local level with code enforcement and insurance to make home sharing actually legally possible.
Do you think perhaps maybe Tony can speak to what's permitted right now with respect to home sharing? Is he?
Well, Mr. Grancy's here, he could speak to it. One of the things, and it's a question that we've gotten, and Tony and I actually talked about this, he actually predicted we would get a question along these lines, so I'll turn it over to Tony as well, but there are a number of challenges, and a lot of them are state regulations that govern boarding houses, rooming houses, apartments, multifamily, how many units, it can get into construction codes, but one of the things, and certainly, you know, I think the Board of Trustees is always receptive to examining what can be done at the local level, again, within the parameters of what the state allows. In short, the largest distinction in terms of boarding houses and rooming houses versus home sharing involves the concept of living as a family unit, and it's largely court-created and court decisions, and where groups of people live together, not with separate deadbolts on a bunch of different rooms that are clearly separate apartments and separate kitchens, but you are truly sharing, and it doesn't mean you have to be related to be a family unit, but where you are truly sharing the home and sharing the common living area and sharing the expenses, that is something that can fall within those permissible parameters. So I don't know if you want to add to that, Tony, or...
Thank you. I'm Tony Director, Director of Code Enforcement. In Barry's comments, under a group of families, as long as people are living together and have the same checkbook, and based on the bedroom size in that house that you want to rent, you can do that. That's why a lot of people are calling us complaining about seeing all having fraternities. That's not true. They come in as a family, they have a checkbook, which everybody puts their money into one single checkbook, and then they pay all the bills through that. Of course, we do the inspections, and based on the bedrooms, if you have 7 bedrooms, you probably have 10 or 12 people living there. So we go in and we do those inspections. On a single-family house, if you want to rent your rooms under the state statute, and we did a lot of research on this, you're allowed 3 full-time students or 1 non-student in order to rent in your residence. That's the state statutes, it's not the village codes, and that's what we have to follow. Thank you.
Okay, we have one up front.
Thank you. My name is Veronica Peralta, and I'm actually a Maplewood resident. And first of all, I wanted to commend you because you're far ahead of us in Maplewood in terms of coming to terms with the needs of seniors. I have a question. I was looking on Maplewood Online. There are tax tables there from the New Jersey Division of Community Affairs. And I saw that there's a column there for property tax discounts for seniors. I was wondering if somebody could tell us a little bit about that. It seems to go throughout the state, and I was wondering if someone knew something about this. Thank you.
There are a number of programs. One, some of it's the senior citizen exemption. I trust most people are aware of that. It's one time. There's veterans exemption. And then the program that's a number of years old, it's the property tax freeze, PTR. Some of you may be familiar with the property tax reimbursement form, PTR 1, PTR2. If you're not, certainly we can provide that information to you. Our tax collector, Ron Kizakis, is not here today, but they have a great office. That is a program where when you enrolled in the program, you essentially froze your taxes. It requires that there's certain levels of eligibility in seniors. And you freeze your taxes, and then you actually get a reimbursement from the state for the increases since you got into the program. That's in a nutshell, but there are, and we're certainly happy to make that information available. I would encourage you to contact the tax collector's office. They have all the forms. They can answer all the questions. Marion might have some information on it.
Marion, can we get you in the microphone so everyone can hear?
The property tax reimbursement is available for people with limited incomes who are 65 and older or on Social Security disability. I think you have to be careful because, as many people have found, you have to reapply every year. If you miss a year, your base year, which is what your taxes are based on, is no longer in effect. In other words, if I started with, when they first came out, the PTR, property tax reimbursement was late 90s, I think, and if I had started then as a homeowner, I would have a lower base year. But if I miss 1 year, it switches and goes way up. Because the reimbursement is actually the difference between the base year and what you get now. If I can also add, for homeowners, there still is a homestead rebate. At this point, we're not certain when people are going to receive it. The rebate from 2012 has not yet been credited to the tax bill, and because they no longer send out checks.
And one more comment on that subject from Ed Moore, one of our neighborhood leaders.
Ed Moore, talking about the taxes, every year starting in February through April 15th, there's a group of volunteers from AARP that provides tax preparation services for seniors at the library. And last year, probably the same this year, it's usually on Tuesday and Thursday, but as we get closer to that season, you can make appointments there. But in that process of doing the federal and state taxes, we also can provide guidance on some of the things that Marion mentioned as far as filling out the PTR form, which can be complicated and the regulations seem to change every year. So that's a service that's there, there's no cost, and take advantage of it come tax season.
Hi, I'm Carol Leonard. I'm just putting something out here that's been on my mind for quite a while. Those of us who are not of childbearing years, or whose children are gone, or like in our case, have never had children, I'm all for public education. I grew up in public school, but it is becoming so overwhelming in these last few years. And if you look at your tax bill, 50% of your taxes are going for education. That's great. I'm kind of wondering, and I know that there are worries that this will get into a whole ageism war, but if the possibility could be explored for people who do not have children in the system or are of a given age where they are not going to have children in the system, if there the rebate could come. Fortunately, right now, we have too much income to take advantage of any of the tax rebates that are available. And I'm all for paying for these kids. I want them to have a good education, but it strangles me when I look at my tax bill and I see how much is going for education and how little is going to the town, to some of the other activities. I think it's something to just explore. I know it's complicated and possibly dangerous, but we can live dangerously. Why not? Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. More comments? Okay, we're going to go back over here.
I'm sorry. This is just a question. Is there a senior citizen listserv? So if someone decides they have a question about Seton Hall's auditing rules, that they can put it on the listserv and then everybody who knows anything will answer?
good idea.
Marion, can we have you chime in again?
Through the recreation department and through my job at the library, the Senior Buzz, or the Buzz actually, is published monthly. And if anybody would like to contribute, as long as it's not a for-profit kind of thing, any public service information, announcements of events, if you send it to me, unfortunately I have a deadline that's almost a month ahead of the month that the issue is published. But I'm very happy. I try very hard to get as much as possible of things that are happening in the community or available. So if you have anything, please give it to me or send it to me.
I think the question was a little bit more about a listserv
Right.
too, if there's an opportunity to put out questions and have other people respond. Do you
Yeah.
want to take that?
Well, no, I'm not aware, and I could be incorrect, I'm not aware of a specific listserv, and but one of the challenges that we have in reaching out to people, and certainly with this population, is how do we get, and we recognize not everybody's online, not everybody's on the computer. I don't even Facebook for whatever that's worth, and I don't tweet either, so I'm happy to be in that crowd. But we certainly encourage you, and as part of the sign-in, if you didn't sign in, please do sign in. If you have email, please provide your email. We're not going to sell it, we're not going to send spam or junk, but it's an opportunity and a way for us to build a database to reach out to